Hello and welcome to our Conscious Leaders Circle, where we meet once a month to support each other through these epic and changing times to be more grounded, energized, and focused, and live a centered, connected, and conscious life. Tonight is our very special annual astrological gathering. And it's a very epic time on the planet, especially as I think it's a 60-year cycle of the fire
Yep.
horse years coming through. And so many incredible astrological alignments that are here to fully support us. And our amazing guest speaker, the wizard and master of astrology, Richard Geer, is our featured guest speaker. And Richard is going to talk about astrological insights for 2026, inventing a world that works. In Richard's words, great words, 2026 is the most powerful year in a long time for visionary leaders to align with invincible power. 2026, the fire horse year, gives enormous powers of creation. If you could reinvent your world this year, what would it look like? And while we're at it, what kind of world do we really want to live in? We can create a brand new story for humanity by jumping on the horse of our true holy passions, allowing us to live fully, to give fully, and meaningfully to the world. The next 2 years are all about stepping out. When that step begins from love, this is what I absolutely love about what Richard wrote. When that step begins from love, from our heart, from our center of our spirit, our soul, it becomes the greatest adventure humans can live. For those who don't know Richard, he is a master astrologer with over 50 years of experience, featured in Rolling Stone, the New York Times, and freewillastrology.com. Richard uses astrology as a powerful tool to help people live their fullest, most authentic lives. 2026 will be a wild, transformative year for humanity. What do the planets and stars say that can help us find the most enjoyable, reliable ways to sail through the uncertainties and the demands and become a more brilliant version of ourselves in the process? So tonight, Richard's going to share tips on how to apply the very rare alignment of planetary powers to your own personal adventure this year. Richard's going to be offering 5 free 3-minute readings. That's so phenomenal to be able to participate in that live. And then for everyone who stays till the end, we have our New Year's success package from myself and Richard. So in case you're not chosen for your mini reading, there is still lots of opportunity to experience Richard's magic. And I have to say, I have known Richard. How long have we known each other, Richard?
Somewhere like 1996, 7, somewhere in there.
Yes, and Richard has been a phenomenal spiritual mentor for me and has helped guide me through incredible challenges and turn lead into gold. So, from my heart to yours, Richard, and from my heart to everyone's heart this evening, I'll leave it to Richard to take over.
All right. Oh, yeah, I want to get to the very core of what this year is all about and why I'm blown away by it. Not, it's going to be a wild, wild ride. And I want to support people in having the most enjoyable experience of the wild ride and how to sort of dodge some of the sand traps, and find where exactly your perfect guidance is leading you. So let me get into, tonight is definitely about fire. Okay. And not just the fire horse thing, which I'm going to get into, But the fact that two planets at once are entering into a fire sign, Saturn goes into Aries for 2.5 years, Neptune goes in for 14 years. And every 30 years, when Saturn goes into Aries, a brand new story shows up. Okay. And uh, the the last time was 97-ish. That was the internet and cell phones changed everything, right? A whole new everything, a whole new everything. We're in it, right? Before that was 67-ish, 67, 68, was the explosion onto the world stage of the counterculture, a whole other way of living, of relating, of doing everything, where you don't have to ask someone to dance. You can just go out on the floor and dance. You don't have to dance a particular dance. You dance your dance. So there was a creating of the idea that we can have a global community of people who are free to be themselves, but they're also communing with others. And so that was huge. And that was the fire horse year. It was 66 was just before, okay? Because this is a 60-year cycle, and Saturn is two Saturn returns is a 59-year cycle. So they were very close. But what happened between, the Chinese New Year is always the second new moon of winter, almost always in Aquarius, okay? And so between the winter of 66 and the winter of 67 was the germination of an entire other culture, places like San Francisco and whatnot, but it went everywhere. And so Fire Horse, and Aries is always new beginnings. Okay, it's like a brand new whatever shows up. And so what happened was Neptune, which is the planet of divine love, the planet of spirituality, the planet of oneness, that perfect love that's inside us is also the planet of surrender. Like, let go to what is, stop fighting everything, stop manipulating everything, and really be here, and it's the hangman in the tarot. It's just like, let go. And then, but it needs grounding. So Saturn is the grounding. Saturn is, okay, fine, how do you pay the bills? All right. And how do you keep the kid from getting lost in drugs or whatever? And so when they come together, the perfect Saturn person to me is Clint Eastwood. It's strong in his chart. He's like no nonsense, almost a little sour in his face, just like, but very real, very there, taking care of business. I show up and I expect you to show up. It's realism. So with Saturn, the grounding planet, the practical planet, merges with Neptune, the mystical planet. You have, who had both of them strongly connected? Martin Luther King. He was the visionary dreamer coming from divine love and spirit, but he also was a general. He had to make very hard decisions. When it got desperate in Selma, he had to send the kids out, on the street, and so that hard nose, how do you make the practical day-to-day world and what do I ultimately want, and what is purity, and what is our vision of everybody included, everybody matters. How do we do something that is truly full of love? And it's a completing of the 2,000-year long age of Pisces, which we were supposed to be learning divine love the last 2,000 years, and what's coming in is the inventive and creative, and I answer only to my own light world of Aquarius, which is you don't have to conform to anything. Conform to you, not just your little ego, but conform to the divine guidance in you. The Creator created us to create. That to me should be the motto of Aquarius. And so the last time Neptune and Saturn came together was the end of the Cold War, the late 80s, okay, the Gorbachev era. And so if all of a sudden we don't have an arms race. Oh, wow. We can make it up brand new now. Yeah, we can. Uh-huh. And so the previous time before that was the end of the Korean War, where I'm not going to get political here, but it's just we're not going to fight each other. We can't do that. Okay, you can't do that with atom bombs. I'm sorry. We got to get along. Okay, and so now we have again the vision of what could be Neptune. Aim high, aim on the level of your purest heart, because there's no other way to find the divine will, because that's where it is. It's in the heart of hearts, in us, all of us. And Neptune also has magical power. I call it one of the three superpowers. An endless fountain of fulfillment within us. Wouldn't that be a superpower? Wouldn't that be the greatest superpower? that we have a fountain of happiness that is independent of our personality. It's independent of circumstance. It just is. And we can go there all the time. And by going there, we automatically share it. To share it, all you got to do is vibrate with it. That's it. And that triggers the second superpower, which I'm going to get into, you know, Uranus, which is genius, divine intelligence, perfect knowing, perfect guidance, being one with the creator. And you think of three famous Uranians, Shakespeare, Galileo, Einstein. I mean, really, each one of them is associated with a total breakthrough, right? Total creators, total genius, you know? And so, and as I'm hearing the I Ching saying, one who acts from these deep levels makes no mistakes. Perfect guidance. And so, so we have this incredible spiritual power available to us, the chance to totally merge the domain of spirit and the domain of practical well-being in the 3D world. That's where we can go in a way that we couldn't do 60 years ago. We've had this time to evolve, you know? And so I want to talk about that. And they're both in Pisces, you know, in the spirit world saying, okay, build your spiritual power, master surrender, master your ability to stay connected no matter what. And it's not, I don't think it's possible to stay connected without doing the will of love. Unless that's the first motive, then we're not aligned. And so that is coming to the fore over the next month as they both go into Aries, back into Aries. So that's one thing. And something else I want to get into the simultaneous with that. Yeah, that the three outer planets, which are the creative planets, higher intelligence and higher love, and Pluto is power, the infinite power, how to merge with that. Pluto is also the domain of magic. And so, but those are scary initiations. But when they merge with Saturn, which is the practical 3D, okay, how are you going to do that? How are you going to ground that? What's your discipline? How are you going to stay in touch with that? How do you make that happen? Then it grounds it all. And the connection of these three outer planets, when they come together, which is rare, 60s was one time when they did that. And I had felt for a long time that around 500 and something BC must have been when all three outer planets came together for the only time in thousands of years. And I just found out, you know, the last couple of years that I was right, 577 BC, because that's when the foundation of the master knowledge of the world that could really work for all of us was planted. You had Confucius and Lao Tzu and the Buddha and the Upanishads and Zoroaster and the Greeks, you know, et cetera, all happening to create the foundation of the world that we're living in now, you know. So and so whenever they come together, especially if you add Saturn in there to make it practical, the chance to totally reinvent the world occurs because you've got unlimited divine intelligence, you've got the right motive of divine love, you know, universal love, everybody, which is what Christ and the Buddha, etc., were teaching, and you have the alignment with the planet of transformation, Pluto. When Pluto shows up, things change forever. They totally change forever. And so what I feel for each of us in our private life, so what's happening in the globe in general is totally transformative year, and parts of it could get a little hairy. That's why being aligned, when we're aligned, everything works for us. When we're aligned, you know, what I used to hitchhike with, you know, and have no possessions, etc. You know, I'd already gotten a warning ticket in Illinois, and the intuition goes, get off, and I go down the hill, and the cop car goes right by. When we're aligned, everything works for us. You know, I've got countless miracle stories, which I won't get into in this time frame, about how everything just showed up for me, and I follow one intuition, all of a sudden my life changes. All of a sudden, I believe that when you truly follow, true employment is following your guidance, and that you are guaranteed that everything will come together if you simply do that. So we have Pluto in Aquarius, which is a 250-year cycle. So for the first time since the American and French revolutions, the Bill of Rights, and the whole idea that government is supposed to work for us, not vice versa, that all was planted. The world that we live in was planted in the 1780s, the last time, you know, all of this was happening. Pluto in Aquarius. The time before that was Martin Luther in the 1500s, where they broke up the Catholic monopoly, and all of a sudden the idea that each of us could have our own religion came in. And so the next 18 years or so we have a chance, and everything's going to work in that direction, to not be dominated by any hierarchies that's out in the world, but in our own life, to truly, truly feel free, and to be willing to let go of anything that gets in the way of that feeling of connection. So Pluto in Aquarius, Saturn in Aries for 2.5 years, creating the new forms that are going to be the story for the next 30 years. Neptune, divine love planet, going into Aries, the planet of a sign of boldness. The last time that was the U.S. Civil War and the end of slavery, and then and the working class rising up all over the world to get free. So Neptune likes to surrender, but Aries is like, step out, be bold, take chances. So the horse is about, and horse ties in with centaur, right? You can go long distances. You could say the butterfly too. You can go long distances. What is your long range plan? What are you passionate about? What is your vision? And do you have the courage to step out and risk falling on your face and you may fall on your face quite a few times, who knows, but to really, what is it that makes life feel new and bold and alive and fresh? And I'm hearing E. Cummings, like he was just born. And so the phrase in the Bible, born again in the spirit, can also be translated as generated from above. Something, a motive that has nothing to do with what can I get, what can I hold on to, what can I avoid, what can I accumulate. No motive except spirit says do it, I do it. And so we have this chance, and I'm seeing it everywhere in certain organizations and free seminars and whatnot, where the business world, the world of how do you get yourself out there, blah, 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 and the spiritual world, the world of how do I come from the highest motive, how do I receive guidance, how do I stay with inspiration, how do I live from inspiration, they're starting to merge. There's a line from William Blake: eternity is in love with the productions of time. So how do I stay in touch with that eternal vibration of well-being that people go off to monasteries for or whatever, and have that come down into perfect guidance so that my 3D practical world merges with the bliss? And that's how heaven gets to earth, is through each of us allowing that. Now there is, when I do the way I do astrology, it's free will astrology, meaning two people could have the exact same chart and have very different character, very different destiny. I once met my astral twin, born the same exact time as me, and we had unbelievable things in common. And my business partner, who was a karate black belt, said, I wonder where my astral twin is. And I said, he's probably in prison, Paul, because the chart was so intense, that instead of being a karate black belt, you might wind up being a bank robber, right? And so it's all what you do with the energy. And it's all, and I want to, so I want to just step for just a moment into the domain of the magical. Okay, because we're in the middle of this huge paradigm shift where the spiritual and the scientific are coming together. Spiritual world, the business world are coming together, and the idea that no matter how weird it gets out there, if you're in tune, everything will work for you. But it's largely Lao Tzu, in the pursuit of the Tao, every day something is dropped. When we go back to that pure motive, I just want to love the world. Okay. I just want to be the embodiment of that joy. I just want to have every moment feel in sync, and when we're in that place, we unite with the heart of hearts. To tell a very quick story about Neptune, there have been at least 4 times in my life when I just went deep into meditation out in public, I opened my eyes and there's a woman I'd never met smiling at me, wanting to get close to me. Okay, 4 times. All right. It's not the usual way to pick up girls, right? Go inside, meditate, But what I'm saying is the universe becomes friendly to us when we become friendly to us. When we allow ourselves to indulge in the purest of loves, and we automatically radiate it. So take a breath. That's a mouthful. Now there is a dark side, as I said. There's a dark side that's going to show up, out there. The lower level of Pisces is delusion and no boundaries and etc. And when that kind of Pisces energy turns into Aries energy, then it's aggressive, it's insecure, it's impatient, it's manipulative, it's my way or the highway. So um, there is a showdown coming, and it really, I think it is between the we're all in this together vision and the we win you lose, we're good you're bad, and it's a war vision. And the we're all in this together vision obviously wants to win and has divine power behind it. And and so this year we have what's called the North Node in Pisces, the South Node in Virgo, which is South Node is like past lives and old habits, and for this is for the whole world. And so Virgo is trying to fix things, criticize things, uh, help things. Whereas the opposite side, the North Node, the path of growth, is Pisces, which is, it's said that when the North Node is in Pisces, it can be the easiest of incarnations if you do one thing: monitor the spiritual atmosphere in which you live. What's the vibration you're bringing? Like with me tonight, I didn't feel I had my full mojo, which is another word for the fire sign, the fire signs and the fire element. And so I, made myself go out and do a long run in the night. And I came back and went, yeah, I got the juice, baby. That's the fire element. Okay. Air is the mental element, water is the feeling element, and earth is the five senses. And so when the fire element becomes strong, as it is this year, or for the next 2 years, but this is the fire horse, uh, starting with the next new moon. Um, uh, well, actually, 2 moons from now, 2 new moons from now. It's going to be very late this year. It's going to be in mid-February, when the new year, Chinese New Year, comes in. But that fire is motivation, it's aliveness, it's mojo, it's chi, it's how much juice are you bringing to the room. Some people just radiate it, right? They got that beam, and we have the chance to be fully in contact with that beam, you know. Anything else I want to say? How much minutes I got left to talk, Lydia?
We are at 8:30. This is phenomenal, Richard. I'm taking notes and yes, we'll have to do a whole master class.
You know what I would love? I should tell you right now. The thing I've always wanted to do, at least in the last few years, is to have an online support group for everyone who wants to solidify their connection to the three superpowers.
Yes.
And talk about the ups and downs of our lives. And I tried this out, I tried that out, and how and get support from each other in being more frequently one with the divine. Okay, in a very earthy way. We're not joining any clubs. We're just supporting you and you and you and you in being your true self, and in allowing capital G grace to come in and lighten your load and make you the instrument of that magic. And as I said, we already are that, but we're clouded. Okay, that line, in the river of bondage to Maya, all are swept out to sea, and then in seconds she has set us free. We go back to that source, and all of a sudden everything works. All of a sudden the thing I needed shows up. And so what is that discipline? And the thing is, it's not a particular thing. If you meditate so many hours, this will be like, it's not a slot machine. Okay, you have, it's a subtle muscle that where all of a sudden you begin to melt into that perfection, and then different ideas come than the ones you were thinking, and then events come out of nowhere, opportunities come out of nowhere. Like and so if we can live on this level, we can really enjoy this year. Okay, a lot of people, it's gonna get a bit scary. Okay, but it's still evolutionary, and the doorway is always there. You always can go home. You always can let the miracle come in. And so you always can forgive everyone and everything and see one power everywhere. Okay, it's always available. And I had a hand at my, collar going, "You already 3/4 dead. Do you understand me?" Of course, I immediately went to the zone, and then I just said, "I feel you." It was the perfect thing to say, and he just let me go, and a tear came out of each eye. It just, everything changed just like that, you know? And so we have that kind of power. It's a question of how, in a sense, how nice to ourselves we want to be. There's this infinite niceness, infinite kindness, infinite fulfillment that's a millimeter away, ready to come in. So the more we do that, and that's the Pisces lesson, the more the Aries lesson, when we jump out, that's that line, uh, the, from the what was it, the I Ching, one who acts from these deep levels makes no mistakes. And the way I would put it is, one time I was sitting on the sloping lawn in front of the beautiful marble state house in Providence, Rhode Island, and I was just sitting there, and I was just one with it all. It's just one being, and then all of a sudden I became the me in my body. Well, that's the journey from Pisces to Aries. We're all one, and yet I have a different destiny than anybody else, and I can know that, and I can follow it. You know, I got given the astrology career at 23. Everything came to me just by following that inner guidance to study that and do this and do that. So let's pause for a second.
Take a
What have
nice
I?
deep breath. That's phenomenal, Richard. I have so much to share from what you're saying, but I'd love to hear from the group before we go into the individual readings. So let's open it up to everybody. And let me just change on the viewing screen. And I'd love to hear your insights, your what was activated within you from listening to Richard. I remembered my um I call it my zero limits declaration of life when I was 10 and doctors told me to go home and die. And I thought that was ridiculous. And I said, I came on the planet to be whole and free. And that I thought of that when Richard was speaking, because I yearn for sovereignty in the midst of the old paradigm that we are shedding. So that was my insight. Anybody want to share what your insight is?
Well, for me, I feel like one of my insights has been like I feel like very recently I've came to a conclusion about myself, I guess, where I felt like I was like things were like the direction I was going in my life. I feel like it was more about like I have to do things a certain way and more like a tough exterior. Like the way I projected myself into the world was a very like rough, like kind of closed off, and I got to do things like my way, I guess. And so there is the, the positive element of like, being bold and taking risks, and that's important. But then I think this year, I think one thing that really resonated was about learning to, it's like we're all in this together. It's not just like me going out on a quest and accomplishing something, but if people are not involved and it's not for like the better of other people, then it's kind of for nothing. And so that was my big insight, I would say.
Mhm.
Well, thank you, Joshua. I mean, there we have it. Remembering unity consciousness in our own personal quest. This is a very what's the word? High achievement, high state of balance as we move through this phenomenal paradigm shift. We're releasing 13,500 years of darkness as we go into the next 13,500 years of light. So each of you here today, all of us here on the planet are courageous to be on the planet at this time for our own journey and for, as Joshua was saying, for the collective, because they're both one ultimately. So thank you, Joshua. Finn, go ahead.
So I realize that when I'm not in flow, and that I actually realize that, because when I don't realize it, I'm generally in flow, is to not be forceful, to not push it, to say, hey, maybe this is just not my time. And that allows me to modulate and be more attuned to everything that I'm putting out and everything that I'm picking up. So all is good.
Well, thank you for that very, again, a deep insight then, because that's your deep connection with yourself. And I know when I'm in flow, I mean, we can talk about that's a whole series on being in flow state. You don't even realize time. You're not hungry. You're just literally channeling, as Richard was saying, and the energy that you have is really kind of supernatural, but you don't think about it, right? There's no intellectual. And as you're saying, without force, and that's very similar to what Joshua was saying, is like to to have our intention and to connect with the divine and then surrender and flow and the trust and the knowing that we're supported. Kate.
This is also fascinating. And, Lydia, there's this phrase in the Bible that says, for such a time as this, just everybody coming together for such a time as this to discover what our true, um, oh gosh, destiny is. And I'm
Yes.
working with some women to help them remember who they are, not to put on a persona, but just to strip away what does not serve them and does not need to come into their future so that they can stop shrinking and start being who they really were designed to be. So I'm so grateful for just this information about being in alignment with the forces that I'm just starting to understand and taste and just really value.
Well, thank you, Kate. And again, coming together like this tonight, we can we can see how others are also on the same path. Because sometimes in our own world, we feel a little bit isolated or have to kind of, go deeper within ourselves to keep going. And then we come together and realize so many others are feeling the same and on a similar path. And this is the power of community. Going into this next phase, the 2026 phase of our massive paradigm shift. So thank you, Kate, for sharing that and illustrating to us that this is universal what's happening, right? It's happening individually as part of a collective, right? And it's a massive wave of energy that is uplifting humanity in our unique way, but each very, very connected to each other. So let's do one more insight. For now, I will be staying later after our session is over and Richard, so we'll have lots of time after, but we want to get to the 5 mini readings. It's but one more. So let's do one more insight and then we'll get to our readings. Anybody want to share anything so far?
I'll share something about, I love what Richard was saying about the Aquarius energy, because I'm an Aquarius, and saying what one of the mantras of Aquarius should be the creator created us to create. And it just really sparked something in me because I've gone through a number of challenges and I find the challenge is always taking me away from creating. And so when I come back to creating it, I'm totally in the flow, like Lydia was talking about. And it's just such a good reminder for me and for all of us, I guess.
Well, thank you,
And I think
Eleanor. Yeah, sorry, who wanted to share something from Eleanor?
Yeah, the more we can look at what's around us and go, how is this perfect? And what's this trying to give me? We become one with the creator. Then we can be creator, And so what looks passive for a moment is we stop and go, okay, how can I own this? How does this lead to fulfillment is always the question to me. How does this lead to fulfillment? As Caroline Casey, the visionary activist astrologer, would say, what does this want to become? Because passive people live in the facts, which is a past participle, that which has been done or made. Active people live in the potential, which is a present participle, meaning potent and possible, same root. Possible, power, and potent are all the same word. Okay, so we live in the power. We don't live with the leaf in the wind. We're the wind, not the leaf. Okay, our personality and our body is the leaf, but our will, our guidance is the wind. Ooh, I like that.
That is beautiful, Richard. See, all activated by Eleanor.
So the thing I want to say, Uranus, which rules Aquarius, um, is going to be in Gemini for 7 years, and that hasn't happened since the 40s, when we invented everything from the atom bomb to the UN. Okay, they totally reinvented the world during the 40s. Like, the war was over, now what? How are we gonna? We don't want to do that again. Okay, well, how are we gonna do? And so they created all of that, and so that has come back. Okay, and 2 times before the American Revolution, and then there was just the whole idea that, yeah, we've got this endless creativity to serve this endless love, uniting with the one power to totally reinvent civilization and reinvent the human and reinventing ourselves, meaning to understand what we really want. I want an endless supply of well-being. I want brilliant guidance that keeps life new and creative and wonderful, inspiring. And I want the universe to be on my side. That's power. So there's the feeling level of the bliss, there's the thinking level of genius, and there's the power level of aligning with the power that cannot be opposed because it's everything. To become, and then
yes, this is amazing. This is, yes. Again, we'll have to do a whole master class on all of it.
Really?
So one more, Kate. Kate Harvey, you had wanted to share one insight, and then we're going to get into the mini readings.
I just wanted to mention the Buddhist monks, and people just start weeping when they feel that energy.
Right.
Yeah. That peace and that joy and that, just what you were talking about, Richard, that we're moving into these times where if we can become that, cultivate that, and we can change, a room, a city, a world. Yeah.
And getting used to living in the world of vibration. Like, most people live in their minds, they live in their emotions, they live in their 5 senses, they live in their desires. Okay, but if you live in the world of vibration, you can master all 4 of those worlds. Those are the 4 elements, right? You can, and just like me knowing, okay, if I'm gonna be fully here for everybody, I have to go do a jog. Okay. And to take the feeling, turn it into the guidance, go do the action. And then everything works, So I really get that this quantum leap, we're getting so close to it, and it's upon us, but it just involves that discipline of prioritize the heart, allow happiness immediately, and that could it may involve going through some pain, like bringing up stuff or whatever, but it'll feel like, yeah, this is the best of all things I could do at this moment, and I'm always aiming at that. What's the best now? What's the best now?
And it's your birth, and Richard, it's your birthright. Everything that we're discussing and what Kate shared, it's our birthright to come to live in that alignment, right? And we were taught to disregard intuition, to go through means outside of ourselves to connect with something higher. And so we have to be patient with ourselves, but also dedicated to the inner knowing that it's our birthright. And it already exists, as Kate was saying, within us. We're just activating who we already are. So Vivian, so this is a good segue. So we have 5 mini readings, and we have one available that is going to be a draw. So I had put out through the emails that if you're interested in a mini reading, to reply. So we have Vivian and Amanda are going to be having their first mini reading, and with Richard, which is a very magical experience. And then we have 2 others, and then we have a draw. It's sort of just how it worked out naturally for the 5th one. And anyone who doesn't have an opportunity for a mini reading this evening, like as I said, Richard's offering a very special package deal to have a personal a personal reading with Richard, which I highly recommend. As I've mentioned, Richard's been a spiritual mentor of mine for a very, very long time. So Richard's just magical. We all know that. Okay, Vivian, so you wanted to share an insight first, and then we'll all take a nice deep breath and get ready.
Okay, very quickly, because I know the time is up. First of all, thank you, Lydia and Richard, for this. Your words are very meaningful and so potent for everybody here. Thank you. I just wanted to say that what you said tonight, Richard, along with your words, Lydia, gives me great hope for 2026 and beyond, because I think I've suffered from a lot of anxiety in the last few years, well, mostly the last year, of what this world was coming to. And my question for me was, how can I be more bold, more creative, and more of service to make this a better world? And what you're saying and the powers that are coming through give me great hope. That's what my insight was.
Yeah, exactly. You know, I grew up in an optimistic era, and this current time, because we had a clear vision of what life could be, what humans could be, where we could go, you know. And so to me, to bring that vision of what we could be, that's spiritual power. Martin Luther King had that, you know that. And so, yeah.
I mean, sorry.
And the power of really believing it, if I can convince my heart, I have the power to convince other hearts, because it radiates. Certainty radiates, not fake certainty, but real certainty.
Well, we're finding a sense of inner security in the midst of uncertain times. And that's a beautiful segue into Vivian and Amanda's reading. So I know some of you are on time frames. I respect that. So we're going to try and get all the readings in. You're welcome to stay. We're going to stay longer. But let's get started. So again, let's all take a nice breath. And we are with Richard in this reading.
And you can keep me on the clock, but 3 minutes each. So do we have more than one Vivian tonight here? November 20th, Lisbon? Mm-hmm.
No, yeah. Vivian Shapiro.
Yes, ma'am. You look beautiful I'm not even gonna say your age, but
it's unbelievable.
You can. I give you permission.
1945. Okay. So the Queen of the Fairies, yeah. And so the planet of Uranus, the planet of genius, planet of freedom, the planet of invention and genius and higher intelligence, etc., is all over you right now. Okay. And especially in the area of relationships, you're reinventing how you be with people, so you can feel more fully expressed. Okay. And to know who your true creative partners are, who are the people who can handle your light, you know. And so planet Uranus is exactly opposing your sun and is stationing there. So it's just like months. And so it's just like total liberation, potential genius, you know, just like open up, get free, you know, go dance all night, whatever it is where the intuition just says, I got to express, you know, and then you have a moon in early Gemini, and it's kind of a bit this year, several months from now, but more next year. Uranus is going to be all over the moon in the house of relationships. And so even more so, utterly intuitive, you know, to be willing to go, I don't know why I'm doing this, but I'm doing this. You know, to be a surprise to yourself is really the best advice during this period. Like, you know, to let the why not muscle come in. I can't believe I'm doing that. I'm going to dye my hair. What? You know, I'm going to go out with who? You know? Yeah. And so to be willing to be utterly a surprise to yourself, very quick 30-second story. I was at a smokeless dance bar one time in Montreal, and the song Here Comes the Rain comes on, and I'm kind of by myself, and then my girlfriend comes from the other side of the floor, comes over to me, spews a mouthful of water in my face and says, Here comes the rain, and dances off. And I'm standing there dripping going, my kind of woman. You know? That's a good example of what I'm talking about.
So Vivian, do you have any questions for Richard? We have a bit of time left in your mini reading.
Yeah, no, I love what I heard, and it sounds like me. It sounds like what I'm maybe going to be courageous enough to bring myself forth to do. So
you're
yeah,
being
I'm going for it.
you're being really blessed by Uranus the next couple of months. So ride that ride.
I'm
Just be willing to
thrilled.
surprise yourself. And you just went through, by the way, some really gut-wrenching stuff the last few years. Pluto opposed Mars, but meant to build whole new levels of courage and passion. It's a very, very passionate chart. Even though you can be light with people, but you are gutsy, passionate, deep person. Okay, so I'll leave it there.
Thank you.
And what would be one action or one insight from your mini reading, Vivian?
Well, it's funny because I was just talking to a group of people that what I did last year was, which was sort of out of character, is suddenly just go to Israel on my own and volunteer in an IDF army camp. And that was so like not kind of something that I would have done, but I want to do more of that. I want to, that kind of thing. Like, and Richard, what you're doing, you're just sort of giving me the impetus to continue doing those crazy things of just going somewhere where I want to go and just do what I want to do and not worry about people saying, oh, you shouldn't do that, or, oh, where are you going? I know that I'm going to be on the right track doing the things that will be meaningful to me, but more importantly, helpful for others.
There you go. There's tying into what Joshua was talking about, right? It's having that connection to the collective. Okay, thank you, Vivian and Richard. Amanda is up next for her mini reading.
Hello.
All right, 1977. That, you know, the intensity is also in you very strongly. That you were meant to be someone who's very gutsy, expressive, but it's Libra, so Libra has that sense of you don't just blurt it out, okay, with rare exceptions like Simon Cowell, but he's a different kind of Libra. But still, you have the bluntness, but the elegant bluntness, shall we say? Spoonful of sugar helps the medicine go down. You know that you are meant to be. Do we actually have a birth time with this, so then I can be more specific?
1977.
No time.
Time?
Oh,
we don't know. Do I remember? You know what? I'd have to.
Okay, that's all right. I was just checking because I can say more things birth time, but I just want to say several things. So we have Sun, Pluto, North Node all merged, and what that is. In past life, individualistic past life is more like Aries kind of. I do what I do, and the rest of you fuck off if you can't handle it, you know. Whereas this life, you carry that past, but this life is about mastering relationship. How do I be totally, utterly myself and get away with it? How do I speak my truth right into the core of whatever's going on in a way that doesn't get me thrown out of the building, you know? And so the mastery of deep relationship. And again, I can't be more specific because it's not the time of day, but it's very key to this chart. And there's going to be big lessons like later on this year, like summerish, and even more next year. Saturn's going to be aspecting all of that. And so the need to really, really do relationship right, to go, okay, this isn't working. What's the muscle I need to learn? You know, is it I'm holding back because I'm afraid they'll blow up at me or something? How do I trust my gut? This chart, you got to trust your gut.
You know what? I think it was evening. Just from thinking of what was happening in the life. That helped you.
Like sunsetish. That would make relationship.
Later, I think it was my aunt missed a blind date because she had to drive my mother to the hospital. So.
All right. Yeah. So that would make the expressive energy even more powerful. But the key, as I said, is this chart demands that you master the gut brain, to know when you know, and to let the belly tell you what you need to know. Now, in many ways, what makes that easier is like when you know, bedtime or something, when you go, I can't sleep. What's going on? What is it? You know, and that's the key, to keep the belly feeling clear and clean. If the belly feels clogged or murky, it's a signal. What am I not dealing with? Okay. What do I need to see differently? Is there something I need to say? Is there something I need to do? And this chart can be so, so powerful if you master the gut brain. Now, also, Moon and Leo.
So Richard, I think we're going to have to wrap that up for now.
Okay. All right. Fine.
So, Amanda, if you want to get in touch with Richard to finish. then you're welcome to do so. We just want to respect everyone who's here in terms of time. So we've had Vivian and Amanda. So we have
Cameron, we got
Sander and our free mini reading. And Sander, are you okay to do yours after Cammie's?
Yep.
Okay, so I think we're going to do Cammie, and then why don't we do the lottery? So anybody who's waiting to win the mini reading with Richard, we'll do that around 9:02. Is that all right with everybody?
Yep.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay. All right. So I just want to stay on track and honor everyone. So Cammie, you are next.
68 in Dallas, right?
Yes.
September 11th. You also and
much as I'd love to.
I'm sorry to interrupt. Everyone, mute, please. Everyone, mute. Yeah. Thanks.
So we got 8:15 a.m. right?
Yes.
Yeah, and so it's very interesting here that there's a side of you that needs a certain amount of solitude. Okay, that needs to pull back and filter things and etc. And it's very key to who you are. Very important. And you know how to negotiate that. Okay, I gotta go away for a little while. I'll be back. Okay, you got the Libra skills of like, okay, honey, I gotta do what I gotta do, but I love you and I'll be back. That's a very, very important skill. and in fact, there's potentially a charm and a grace to how you do things. And this chart really is all about relationship in the terms of the ability to. Okay, you're a strong individual. You are who you are. This is what's called a seesaw. You have a bunch of planets on one end, bunch of planets on the other end. So one side of you is a radical individual. I got to go where I got to go, period. Okay. Another side of you is very much about the connections. Okay. We want to make the connection, really good connections. And the balance is so key, and it creates a wholeness. It also gives other people permission to be totally themselves also. So the thing I want to say here is Mars and Leo, they need a certain richness of expression, and there needs to be a certain indifference to what the reaction is going to be if you follow your spirit and say and do exactly what you got to do, and that's really and so there's a natural discipline to how you express yourself, a natural. You don't go off the handle with Mars, but the key to this chart is Mars square Neptune, which is you need to be an instrument of divine love, and it's in your who you are, and you need to be coming straight from the heart. That's who you are. And in some charts, it's a crusader. Someone else, it's that your higher values than making a living or whatever are meant to be courageously expressed. And so the more you feel what the love is leading you to do, the more this chart totally works. Anything else I want to say about that? So yeah, but that the graciousness muscle is past life, but there's big lessons in relationship over the next couple of years, okay, which will culminate in your second Saturn return that occurs 59-ish, that's all coming, and so this is a very powerful time for creating the next 3 years, let's say, powerful liaisons with others that'll be both of a spiritual nature but also of a practical nature. Who can I count on? What are we doing together? What solidifies this relationship? Who do I want to prioritize? And who do I want to go, I love you, what Michelle Obama calls the slow ghost. I care about you, but I'm taking a long time getting back to you, aren't I? So so it's like really knowing when relationships feel good and when they don't feel good, and just like nailing it. This is what I got to do with this person. This is what I got to stop tolerating with that person. This is what I got to take a chance and ask this person if they want to do this with me, and really, really own all your relationships.
Yeah,
that's.
I think I've been testing some of those lately. Like,
a lot of people get married
just a little bit, not too much, just to see if it's where it's going further. Yeah,
and then tremendous relationship power. Then you'll have your real allies to play with.
Yeah,
okay,
that makes total sense.
All right.
Yeah, thank you, and I'm sure Cami has more insight and questions for Richard, and anyone who's having a mini reading with Richard, you can continue having that discussion as part of the mini reading. So thank you, Cami and Richard. So now we're going to do the draw. It's 9:02, and how are we going to do the draw, Richard?
He's going to wait till after the draw. Okay, fine. Sander.
Yeah, we're going to do Sander after the draw.
Okay, great.
Yeah.
Okay.
Because we want
Right,
to, everybody here who's waiting, we want to respect their time. So,
and so how
do we do the draw? I don't know.
Well, I tell you what, I had an idea of using deck of cards, but again, we have so many people here. How do we differentiate them? Let's say in terms of there's an order. Is there something like an order in which people like? So if I picked up a card and I got a 7, it would be that person.
I don't know. Let's do it quickly, Richard.
but what is it?
Or just intuitively, close your eyes and pick the screen. I don't know how you want to do it.
I can't see everybody right now. Here, let's see here.
I don't know, because we want to stay on time.
Yeah. I tell you what, those who want a reading, yell out a number between 1 and 12.
7.
9.
8.
7.
3.
8.
Boom!
3.
I got a 7.
5.
We had 3 people who got 7s, right?
Yeah.
Yep.
So now we got to choose again. Among those 3 people who chose 7, choose another number.
4.
2.
3.
4, 2, 3. Ta-da! Come on. 2. All right.
That's me. Yeah.
Congratulations, Finn, and thank you again for everyone else who participated. And you'll have lots of time with Richard again. So Finn,
right.
Go ahead, and Richard, let's
see. He's
bring in that aligned energy.
Okay. So hang on.
I have a trine, kite, and fire.
All right. Do I have your chart already, Finn?
Yes, you do.
Okay. So hang on. Under the F's. How come you're not there? Let's see. What was the? Well, I'll tell you what. Let me just look at the. Rather try to. When people belong to a group, I'll often give them all the same last name, so you're not under Finson.
No.
So give me a birth date again. Mm-hmm.
September 29, 67, 5:17 a.m. Toronto.
All right. September 29, 67. Here we are. September 29, 67. Oh, yeah, I got something big to say to you, actually, already. Yeah. So, but let me look at everything else, too. Just very quickly. Yeah, I think that's what we need to say more than anything right now. So the early Libra, right? What's up, and Leo Moon. Mm-hmm. What's up right now, and I think that's the most important thing to look at right now. Am I correct? Yes. Okay. This is very interesting. So you are going through this year your second Saturn return, okay, which is 59-ish, right? And you were born with Sun opposed Saturn, and so yeah, this is really big. This Saturn return, which occurs at 29 and 59, roughly. You're looking at the big picture of your life. Okay, what am I doing? What do I want to take this boat? Of the next 30-year cycle. What do I want to do with it? And so Saturn is going to be affecting both itself and your sun, your sun degree. So what are you doing in relationships? To be really looking at that. Okay, who do I want to be with and why? And again, similar to what I just said a few minutes ago, of really looking at relationships and okay, who are my true allies and what do I want to do with them? And and because that's already in your chart with Sun opposed Saturn is this practical thing. You want to express yourself, but that need to be fully expressive, but also very sober about who you're with and why. That's the way I would put it. So that's what's up is that big picture kind of energy. And and I think it comes to a head at 2 peaks, and then I'll complete. One of the peaks, I think it will go. Oops, here's the other ephemeris. This is the 21st century.
You can see the wizard. You can see the wizard at work, Richard. So the books and the magic happening, and
yeah. So
Yeah.
the first visit of Saturn to all your stuff is April, and that's very important. Notice the Saturn energy. Saturn energy is sober energy. Saturn energy is get real, and you're already pretty sober guy in terms of your approach to life. But so it's going to be a fairly fast visit in April, and just feel the Saturn energy. Okay, what's the practical saying to me? Saturn doesn't fool around. You know, you get real or you get smashed. You know, and then around fall, in fact, for a lot of the fall, pretty much all of the fall, Saturn's going to be hanging around again for the last time, and that's going to be a chance to really nail down what you want to nail down in terms of looking at how you're organizing your life, and is your life really organized for maximum self-expression and sovereignty or not? What are the joyous disciplines, the disciplines that feel good, and what are the ones that feel burdensome? You know, what is it that reduces fear to almost nothing, or it makes fear your friend first? Okay, something's off. Remember that line, "Was grace that taught my heart to fear, for grace my fears relieved." And so that ability to look inside and go, okay, I really want to nail something. I really want to nail something down. And I know what that is. Somewhere in me, I know what that is, and I know how to focus in. And so, as I said, so April, which is the fast transit, and then over several months in the fall, it peaks at certain days, but you don't need to know that. It's a very Saturnian time, very sober time, very masterful time. It's like practicing something over and over till you get it right. You know, it's like, and then the confidence and the solidity that comes from that. So feel the ache for solidity, or for really bringing something to culmination, and feel that practical side saying, okay, get real, nail this. I want it now. Make it happen. And you'll feel what that is during those 2 periods. Okay. All right.
Excellent. Thank you.
Wonderful. Wonderful, Richard and Finn. And again, you know, continue the conversation with Richard as part of the mini reading. And thank you everybody for staying. You're welcome to stay on. Richard and I are gonna stay on. And we always stay on after our hour. Our hour is officially up, I think, 2 or 3 minutes ago. And Sander is up next. Sander.
I love this chart. You know, this is 1961, right? January 11th. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I love this chart. And I'll tell you why. It has 2 very, very different dimensions to it. 4 planets in Capricorn. No nonsense. Get the job done. Make it happen. Sober guy. You know. And Sun, Saturn, Jupiter, Mercury are all within less than 9 degrees of each other in Capricorn. And so there's a talent for organization. There's a talent for sticking to something and making it happen. And if you mix, you know, Sun Saturn is even more serious, you know, even more like, okay, I'm the sober guy, but that can also be a trap. Okay. You have to be willing. Saturn, sometimes a super Capricorn can be risk averse, you know, depending on the rest of the chart. And so you need to integrate the other part of the chart. But it's so incredible to have that much Capricorn power, you know, that ability to focus and master and make it happen, you know, and which would give you automatically a nose for people who really make it happen, and people who are full of it, you know, who are not going to show, they're not going to follow through, you know. And so the other side of you is very deep. That's earth. This is water. Very strong compassion and empathy, and sensitivity to vibes and whatnot, and very feeling oriented, very strongly feeling oriented, which could make you, you know, the best of friends to someone. Combine empathy with the ability to show up and be consistent. Hey, doesn't anybody want that? And so it's a beautiful chart. It's a balanced chart. It's almost all water and earth, almost very little in the fire and air. You're really about that which is solid, because water and earth are solid. They're heavy, whereas fire and air are more in the domain of possibilities, you know, like mind, and desires. Whereas, and so you could be a great caretaker. You care very much about people. And you operate from the feeling domain a lot, which is very interesting. The rest of the chart doesn't really aspect the Capricorn stuff a lot. So it's there, you know. Anything else I want to say about that? That's Saturn's heading for your midheaven over the next couple of years. So there could be new breakthroughs in how you bring yourself to the world. How do you want to bring yourself to the world, you know, over the next 2 years? You know, anything else that really stands out? Yeah. Over the next couple of years, you're going to be reinventing relationship, how you want to do relationship, and maybe how to really care while still being really free, how to be much more improvisational with relationship, how to go, okay, I can reinvent this. I can be somebody a little different with this person. I can ask to do something a little different with this person. You know, I can hang out and be more creative with who I'm with and go, hey, let's try this thing. Let's go on this adventure together, you know, and the intuitions will just come in, but you have to have the courage to risk a little bit of rejection. Right. I don't know how they're going to react, but this feels like me, so I better say it. You know, okay, that's the essence of you. That there's a side of you that very much moves from feeling, not just from practical.
Hello.
Thank you, Sander and Richard,
Thank
for
you.
another brilliant mini reading. It's amazing how Richard can bring it all together in 3 minutes. That's the wizard, that's the magician, that's the wise master, right? 60 years, is it, Richard? Oh, you're muted. I asked you to mute, and now I can't hear you.
Yeah, I've been a professional for 51 years, and it goes back another few years before that. So 50.
Yeah, there you go. So we've experienced what that means, right? Right, with your own essence and all the skills and everything.